Everybody, it's Miss Jen here at Space Cadets. Really excited about doing reviews for you guys today, but I'm a little tiny bit worried because I read so many Marvel books because there's no DC this week. Well, very little DC this week. So I'm hoping I keep them straight for you guys because there's some really cool things. I, like you guys know, love it when they have giant myth arcs in which they continue on and give you big payoffs if you've been paying attention. I actually turned somebody on to Power of 10 and House of X, I think last week before last. And they came in yesterday and bought like the second or ordered the second omnibus because they're like, I read it and I am obsessed now. So thanks, Hickman, for making some cool stuff that's fun to read. Tons of cool stuff coming out this week. Is probably the one that's going to light the world on fire is we're finally getting a second print for the Absolute Batman Annual #1 with the elbow break heard round the world. So I think that one's going to sell just as fast as the original. We ordered probably twice as many as we ordered of the first release. Crazy talk. But that is the world we live in. It's an absolute world right now. So, all right, let's review some books. Hello again. I see that Barlord and Kenneth are on watching. Thanks, guys, for being such awesome supporters. You're always here. Makes me feel real good. We're about to get Big Freeze down here all the way in Houston at the end of the week, and I think the whole country is preparing for such a thing. So here's your reminder. It's Tuesday. Don't wait until Thursday to go to the grocery store and try to get bread, because you won't find any. I don't know why bread is the most picked up item for a freeze, but bread clearly is like gold or silver, worth more if you're cold, I guess. All right, let's talk about comics. Plenty of booze. No booze is going to help. All right, we'll talk about that, Corey. Hold on. This is Psylocke Ninja. Psylocke Ninja. So this one is definitely in continuity after the Psylocke series that they just had. But this one's kind of interesting. This one is going back and talking about her being grabbed up by the Hand, which I don't know if you guys know that the Hand is that super shady ninja organization. It's been around for a long time, responsible for things like animating what became the Immortal Hulk after you had Hawkeye shoot him, through the eye. That happened really and truly 2 years before we actually saw an Immortal Hulk in Avengers number whatever. That appearance, if you were looking for it ever, is New Avengers number, I think 15 or 16. I think that's in both of them. I think 16 is on the cover, and all of his his shroud of pieces of cloth. So if you ever wanted to hoard them, like I hoard them, because I know it's his really first appearances, the form that we got later on as Immortal Hulk. That's that Hand. They use a little bit of magic along with their ninja skills, so it makes sense they've conscripted here at Psylocke. The cool thing here for this book, for the reason why you would pick it up if you weren't even really normally a Psylocke fan, is that this actually deals with another female character in the Marvel Universe, in which someone's got her captured, and this is her, I think, being asked to go and hunt her down, or at least it's in the background that the character exists and is part of the storyline. So I will just tell you that you will love who the character is, and it will make sense that they would be part of this storyline. I have a feeling that once people read the book, it's going to be a sought after thing to hunt down. And the cover is really beautiful, and so is the interior art. So all the covers are fire. You're right, Barlord. All right, someone asked me a question a minute ago. Can we pop it up real fast? Because I want to answer it. It was the DCKO. Last page of DCKO. I was wondering why those characters weren't in the storyline. Because we're going to get them for the next round. So the DCKO 4. You actually saw their kind of like outlines in issue 1 of DCKO. So it wasn't a huge surprise that they were going to exist. We just didn't know how they were going to enter the fray. And this late in the storyline, when you have your group of, what do we got? Group of 4? Are we at the group of 4? For this next round, it's going to be real serious. Especially since we know that part of the universe was created by Darkseid. Are they Darkseid's to control? I don't know. You yelled too? Yeah, I was like, heck yeah! So if you guys haven't read it, I'm not going to spoil it this week because you guys still may have them in your packs. But the DCKO number 3 had a really big, like how they had. You have your group of 32. Those guys all search for unique objects. Whoever found the 16 objects became part of the group of 16. Then those 16 did battle. They had 3 rounds of battle. The first round, their form and place where they had to fight were chosen by Darkseid. And then after that, they got to choose amongst themselves. And that made for really interesting storytelling. Like trying to guess at what their opponent was going to choose. And how they might use the location was kind of a lot of fun, right? That was a great fun. Then we had in the last one, we had the actual fights for this next round, but then it automatically, instead of being okay, and this is the end, it jumped right into whatever the next fight form was going to be. So this is kind of awesome, y'all. I like that because it's when you have any kind of tournament bracket, it can get really boring pretty fast, right? What if somebody beats somebody? That's great for a little while, but this is way more fun when you just every round has its own unique set of challenges. This next one, when you have what looks like characters who they themselves are way less reined in by thinking about, I don't know, they're way more likely to result in real violence, right? And that's what the tournament needs. So the worry here is that if these other characters are controlled by Darkseid and he gets whatever their Omega energy is that they generate, then as much as we would like some of these characters to win, we have to think about what that means for the Apocalypse Heart. So anyway, that was what I wanted to talk about a little bit. I hope you guys have got it. Even if you're not reading any of it, I hope that you have gotten enough out of what I tell you every week that it A, makes you think about doing it, and at least helps you understand everything else in the DC universe that's going on around it. So yeah, great pacing, right? All right. Rogue. This book is really tied to what is going on in the Uncanny X-Men that has been being written by Gail Simone, but this one is Erica Schultz, who does really great writing all of their own. But it's clear that we're getting characters. There's more other stuff in another book I read this week where it's clear that the characters that have been created by Gail are being seen as main universe characters because they were also in the X-Men, I think, this week. But the cool thing about this book series, I'm going to pull it open and make sure, because remember I told you I read so many Marvel books that I don't want to accidentally tell you one thing is in one book when it's in a different book. This one deals primarily, I'm pretty sure I remember what this is about, primarily with Rogue is having these kind of like weird visions, right? Because you remember her mom is Mystique. And if you didn't know that, then here you got some information that you needed. And she spent some time with the Brotherhood, which is the baddies of the X universe, in which she did some things that she's probably not very proud of anymore. But she was very frustrated by her power, right? Because her power is that if she touches another mutant, she basically gets to have their power, and it also is damaging to them. So it's really cool that she found Remy, because they can actually, you know, have a relationship, because it doesn't affect him the same way. Because otherwise, if she kissed him, it would be the kiss of death, right? That'd be really bad. You can't be married to those people. So she has been having these crazy visions in which it looks like, because of what she can see in her visions / dreams, look like Sabretooth's claws. And it's as if it is her with Sabretooth's claws. So she doesn't really know what's going on. She doesn't know if she's having some kind of weird skewed vision from stuff that happened with the Brotherhood, or if somebody knew that a mutant is kind of like impacting her or swaying what she is actually getting to see. It's all kinds of like mystery that's been thrown at her, which is super awesome. But the cool part, in which I'm talking about, like they get to pull over characters from Simone's X-Men or Uncanny X-Men, is this one actually has Deathstream in it and Ransom, which are helping her and Remy fight I will just tell you, it is a giant size possum attacking the airport. So that's not spoilery at all. But there's two storylines that are going on. It's this fight and how they work with these two Uncanny X-Men characters, and kind of learning more about their powers and how much they can use before they get worn out and that kind of stuff. And they still see them as kind of like fledgling mutants. Demon Possum, it looks kind of like just like a normal possum, but with like scary face. I guess all possums have scary face, right? Have you ever like come across a possum? They look kind of creepy just in general. They look like they're one step away from being a skeleton, honestly. I'm trying to think of what other creature looks like them. I always thought possums look like, you know, that Godzilla creature from the newer movies? Looks like that, right? The skeleton, what is his name? You guys know. I don't remember his name, but he looked really cool. But this is if you're reading any of the X titles, this is a good one to pick up. If you like Rogue, you should pick it up. If you like mysteries involving her past, you should pick it up. And as we know, all of these little like maybe it is score caller, that might be right, unknown, that you know that all of this stuff is tying together, and the Shadows of Tomorrow is going to lead directly into this new storyline, which they've been putting in every single book, and I can't ever remember what it is. Ew. It has a real, you know, that red page that are in all the comic books from last week? What does it have on it? I can actually show you that because it's in all of the other books. Boop, 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 boop. It was in last week's book, so I'm not showing anything spoilery. But is it not in this one book? Oh, golly. Come on. You guys remember seeing it? It's like a all red page with one kind of shadow person. The only thing we can tell about them is that they have on a some kind of cape. It's the next big storyline that's not in this one book. Hold on. It's got to be in the X-Men. I'll find it. Hold on. But pay attention to those Shadows of Tomorrow. It's also in the X-Men book. I'm going to find it for you guys so I can remember what the name of it is. So you can actually, you might start adding them to your pull box as a consideration. Because the X-Men is the epilogue for the Age of Revelation. which is also going to blow y'all's minds. Armageddon Assembles is the storyline here. I'll show you. Here, I'll put it so you can actually see it there. Witness the origin of the end. That's the next big story arc. And it was in last week's book, so I'm not showing you something that does not already exist. So don't turn me in for showing insides of comic books, please. So that's it. That's all I can tell you about the Rogue. Or we're just going to jump to it. Okay, perfect. Okay. This is taking you on a long walk through all the stuff that happened in Age of Revelation. I'm not going to take you back to the beginning. But in the most recent books for the series, when they're wrapping up the Age of Revelation, you find out that part of the storyline has been that Beast and Scott Summers, Cyclops, did a crazy thing in which they threw them, the ones that ended up in the big Age of Revelation, which was X years from now, which I'm guessing they mean is 10. They had gotten, it was the older versions or the older versions of themselves thrown into those bodies to spy and figure out stuff, to go get thrown back through time to go back into their old bodies so that they could take that knowledge to be able to do something about Revelation and foil his plans, right? Last issue that we saw, we know that Scott made it back. He got found out and his people weren't having it. They're like, you are not our Scott. No, 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 no. But you didn't know where Beast had gone. Beast, kind of like his 404 file not found. He didn't end up back there. So now you have the original Beast back doing his stuff and not being overwritten. So that is really crazy. But this one deals with, you find out there's this whole other group that are from not Age of Revelation, but our current timeline. Including Professor X's sister there, Cassandra, who is that really powerful mutant you saw in Wolverine Deadpool that can stick her fingers to your face and make you do anything. And there's not really a lot of parameters on her powers. And then as you see on the cover there, you've got Joseph, who is a clone of Magneto. So not actual Magneto, because actual Magneto I think is dead, right? But he can also use the cool, can put the helmet on to protect himself from Cassandra's powers. And then a few other characters there who have formed their own kind of group. And they're trying to, what is their aim? I'm making sure I'm not leading you guys down the wrong path. I know that so far that is all correct. Oh, okay. So they were all being led by a specific character called Chairman. And so this book is a lot about a little bit of argument about power, and also the Chairman comes back and it will answer the question where'd the other beast go? That hair from Joseph is magnificent. By the way, if you like that version of Joseph, you should go back. There's a whole series. I can't remember how long ago it was. It's within my lifetime that Magneto was young. There was something that happened in the storyline, and he was called by his name Joseph. And he was hecka handsome, and he looked a lot like that. So this one still has him with a little bit of older face. He was much younger. And that version was really, really fun. You should go back and try to find that. Anyway, this is important storytelling if you want to follow the bad guy plans. And you can tell that McKay has been planning a lot of this for a long time. So, good storyline. All right, lead mail. Okay. I feel like I don't know if the real book Save Now has been out, or if I've gotten to read an advanced copy. So I'm going to pretend like I got to read an advanced copy and no one's read Save Now. Save Now. If you have read it and the book is out, let me know. But this is an origin storybook. So this is 4 different creative teams telling stories within the universe. And it does tell you within this book some surprising tie together between this storyline and some other very, very early stories that Bad Idea put out. Very earliest storyline, to be a little bit spoilery about it. So if you know anything about Bad Idea, you should be able to figure out what that is. So it is dealing mostly with a character who is presented in three or four different ways as somebody that has figured out that he can have a save point for any time he's been experiencing. So the first story is him reliving a young man life in which he gets into an accident while his first experience with a girl kissing. He's driving when she's kissing him, and it ends up always, and every time when he goes back and tries a new save point, always results in a kind of like a huge catastrophe in which he has to figure out. He has to aim himself to one thing that he doesn't like to be able to have to choose. And then there are a couple other storylines in which somebody that worked on early projects in AI, not current age, but way long ago, that they created their own little, like, almost like a child that they raised. And then, okay, when you got this cover, it had December 2023 on it. Well, then I don't know. Because I've never read it. I think I read most everything that they've done, but maybe, who knows? Maybe this is a second print or something. That's my cover. This part of it. I don't even know if it has a thing on the back here. Hold on. Yeah, it looks like a first print. It shows this first print. So I don't really know. But in one of the other stories, it kind of presents a character who's figured out that we don't live in a real world. Everything is completely a digital world. And he has seen the actual digitized version of it and is spending all of his life trying to go back and actually see what that code is. Then there's one more at the end, and I can't remember what that one is about. This one's really, if you just like reading really cool sci-fi and you don't care about, you've never read anything else in this universe, you can jump in here and really, really enjoy it. And since all four stories have gotten different creative teams, there's cool different art styles. So highly recommend this book. All right, Speed Racer. I don't know a lot about Speed Racer, and there are multiple stories in this one also. But I will tell you what the first story is about. So I believe what I'm reading is very early origin story of Speed and his brother. And what's his brother's name? I should know this now. Who ends up being Racer X, right? But this is like going back, and you get to see Pops racing to the hospital for his wife to give birth to the older brother, and then things that happen, and then the second kiddo comes along, and how they interact and what happens in their lives. It's a really kind of like one of those things that, like, it's delightful because it tells, you know, like, there's some sweet, sad moments in there, but just kind of like, oh, look, this is real life that has existed in the Speed Racer universe. But also, you kind of like know what happens later. Rex, sorry, thank you. So you kind of like learn what happens later. So you kind of like know what happens. In-laws drop you off. Birthday present. Is your birthday, Corey? Happy birthday to you. I love birthdays. Birthdays are so much fun. So if you were a Speed Racer fan, this is great. And if you haven't ever jumped into the Speed Racer universe, this is probably a great opportunity to learn some stuff in that universe. You are 43. You're just a baby. You're just a baby. Welcome to your almost mid-40s. This is about the time when you start needing to get glasses for reading. Don't worry, it's not you, it's all of us. Bloodland. I am not 100% certain what I read, except for to be able to tell you that looks like there's a group of, we'll call them vampires. Because the whole thing starts out with a woman giving birth in a hospital, them taking the baby and saying, we'll bring the baby back later. But then it's clear that they put something into her IV drip. And she eventually, like, I think the drip gets unplugged somehow, and she gets enough strength to go and wander around this hospital, in which she goes into a room, flips on the light, and sees something she ought not have. And it's really bloody and vampire-y. So that's the pitch for the book. It is not a vampire tale like anything I've ever seen. This feels much more like grounded and to like, oh, this is modern life. What would it look like if vampires were around? How would they operate? But also not for the faint of heart. Okay, another thing that you guys are going to have to help me with this, okay? So this is Green Lantern Galactic Slam, part of DCKO line. And it does have battle in it. But I don't know if what they're doing here is building as a whole new character and a whole new origin. So here's the setup. Kyle Rayner gets sucked into another universe that feels like a wrestling universe. The best way to explain it. And within this wrestling universe, you meet a whole bunch of other characters, including you get this big, long origin story for that redhead that's behind him with all the muscles. And that character's name is 100% ridiculous, and I can't remember it, and it does sound like a wrestling name, and it's cool. But kind of spoiler-ish alert, this character is clearly going to come over into our DCKO universe. I don't know if they're going to come into the big main fight, but whatever they decide to do with this character, I think he's really cool, and I hope he sticks around because we don't have enough wrestlers in the DC universe, even though they've already introduced them multiple times in their own titles. And I think they did one that had a crossover into, well, okay, so they've been doing lots of covers where the B, or I think it's been the C cover, has always had like a superhero and a wrestler for a while in DCKO. So, and Turney and Formula Junior, it says, oh, sorry. So that's who did this one. I know there's multiple covers, but I didn't get to look at all of them. And it is funny because when Kyle goes over there into this other universe, they give him kind of a wrestling outfit. They try 2 or 3 or 4 on him and give him a different name every time. So he's like, no, man, I don't like that name. No. So anyway, it is tied very specifically to the DCKO storyline, but this one's a fun excursus. Oh my gosh. I actually messaged Shanice from my reading space, which is the Blackberry Diner, hashtag Blackberry Diner, because she said that there was a lot of buzz behind this book. And then after I read this book, I said, oh, we need to have lots more copies of this book. This one is one of those really great books that when you're reading it, kind of like Absolute Martian Manhunter #1, do you remember how you felt after you read that first one? Did you say to yourself, ooh, this one's going to be in the runs for Eisner Awards, Harvey Awards, and all the other kind of awards? Yep, that's this book. Because the storyline is about a kind of like mediocre comic book creator who writes this kind of cheesy romance comic book. It's just enough to like kind of have him make enough money to make it by. But he also, he has a complex personal life. This book very much delves very specifically into we, the reader, are part of the storyline, in that he kind of breaks fourth wall or whatever and talks to us often. And the form in which, like the art style in which he's presented changes a lot. And it's a great storyline, but it's the first time I can remember in I don't know how long, the very last page asks us to do something that I don't think comic books ask us to do. it really does let you know that you are totally part of the story and it makes sense. So, like all of the rest of the assorted crisis events, they are standalone books. You don't need to have read any of the other ones, even though I know that issues 1 through 3 or 4 or 5 are now popping big time on the secondary market for being expensive books. This one is definitely going to be that. It leans in so hard into the stuff between the lines of story pages are the important parts, or things are key for this. It actually is printed on newsprint because, of course, it would be, because that would be what the book that he's writing would be printed on. So I'm just telling you right now, heads up, fair warning, this book that you may not have ever heard of will be completely disappearing first thing in the morning as soon as people find out how cool this one is. So give them a chance. Go back and find any of the other issues you can of it also, because every single one of them is 100% amazing. Think the way you feel about Ice Cream Man every time you read Ice Cream Man. You're like, oh, they can't get any better. The storyline can't get any more interesting. Surely they're not going to make a book on playing cards. Feels like that. They're like really leaning into the blurring the lines between I am reading a book and I am part of a book. Captain America. Lord, I don't know how many other ways I can tell you that you should definitely have this on your pull list. It's so important because this is definitely leading into the Armageddon Assembled storyline. And this is written by Dennis Camp, right? This is Dennis Camp. No, this is Chip Zdarsky. I don't know. The other one's Dennis Camp that I like. So this is Chip Zdarsky writing amazing stuff. So the other Captain America that was presented in the beginning of the storyline isn't part of this series. This is definitely him post Doom era being approached by many, many different factions that are trying to fill that void and be the first ones inside of Doom's stuff to grab up the assets, right? Getting that. And these are like mostly interested in the assets, not going in and trying to be the leadership. So you see Nick Fury up there approaches him. Government approaches him. You can kind of see Red Hulk back there. Like, the cover is not a lie in this case. All these characters are involved. And this is a great storyline. Like, you get to know him even more. And then there's a lot in this book about him and Sharon, who are trying to figure out what their relationship looks like because they don't have normal lives. They're almost never in the same place, right? Even if they have a place that they live together, they're not in it together. Hardly ever. They're all off doing saving the world kind of stuff. And is that okay with them? Is it not okay with them? So relational, which is what Zdarsky does really well. And then Cap trying to figure out where he fits in when everybody wants him. And he is not ready to dedicate himself to anybody. So good stuff. All right. Unglorious X-Force. Also tied in very specifically to all the storylines that are going on right now. But this one is him trying to form a new X-Force team. Because there are characters in here that you're used to seeing on X-Force. You got the Archangel up there in the top. Actually, so no, not used to him in the X-Force. You're used to seeing him as part of the X-Men. The very beginning of the book, something happens to him that is very interesting. You also have Helverine in this book, and I think that's what's her name? Okay, hold on. Boom Boom, who this is a perfect example of everyone trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing post Doom. Post other things that have been going on. And he's approaching a bunch of different people to be part of the group. When he comes back, right, he's a time traveler, right? That's what he does. When he comes, he has a bunch of stuff written on his arm. So on his metal arm, he's got 3 characters' names, and the 3 characters' names are these 3 characters that are on the front. So that's who he's approaching. But he doesn't necessarily remember 100% what they're for. So I think it's kind of interesting in the way that, like, is he gathering these guys? But was it supposed to be a warning against those specific characters? That you shouldn't gather these guys together? So he's trying to get a new military strike force and to try to fight all this stuff that's going on, because in one of the other books you'll find out that there is a big play to remake and use the mutant contagion that you had Armageddon using, but for them to do it so that they can control what's going on. So all of these X books and related X things this week are actually perfectly suited for each other. So it's going to be, I think you have to get like 4 X books this week to be able to stay in the Shadows of Tomorrow storyline and everything that's going on, which I apologize. That's kind of a big ask for you, but I was not disappointed in any of them. Was happy to have them to read, even though there's characters that I don't really like. I don't understand Helverine. He's very useful if you want to pin and stare somebody, but I don't understand what his motivation is, for example. But I'm interested in reading to find out what he's doing. Exquisite Corpses. If you haven't ever read any of these books, I'll give you kind of a short run-up. All of the bad actors in the world, I think the mafia, etc., every, I don't know how many X years, they all choose a champion and a weapon, and they send them out into the world to fight to the death, essentially. There's lots of people in the crosshairs that have been damaged and hurt. But the assassin and object that make it to the end, that belong to that faction or family, means that they get to be like in charge forever. This is the first time I've seen, this book actually talks about, there are some parts of those factions that are starting to talk to each other about how can we work together within what's going on. And I think that's a little bit, maybe one of them doesn't think their chances are very good. But the tournament, this is another tournament that's happening, but it's a like complete death. Reminds you like The Purge, I guess kind of, but it's not like everyone, right? Probably the only people that are aware of this are the assassins themselves and the bad families. So everyone else, I'm sure, is like, what the heck is going on? But this one, we definitely see one of them get taken out. But are they taken out? I don't know. I think they feel like they get killed multiple times, but they keep on popping up, kind of like scary ghost creatures. But I think they're just humans. But yeah, if you like really kind of like terrifying ideas of like brutal killing things, this is for you. And Redcoat, my favorite series of all time, who's about Simon Pure, who is a former Redcoat who ran away, former drunk, anything but pure, as you'll come to know. This one does a great job of the first, like, probably 4 pages are kind of recapping how he became immortal. Talks a lot about, well, a little bit about Washington, who was supposed to be the immortal that was supposed to be imbued with this like unholy fire kind of stuff. And then it talks a lot about somebody that has been dead for a while in the series, or disappeared for a while, who is coming back into the fray. And yes, we get some characters that have been main parts, but what's really sweet about this is that Simon has gotten married and has 2 kids, and he does C. Einstein, who is back in America for, I don't remember why he says he comes back. He's there for some reasons. But the big action that happens here is this character that was once gone and they weren't worrying about anymore because he was buried at the bottom of the sea, is back in the fray and is very, very dangerous and knows all about where Simon lives and all about his family. And that's not good. Not good. Oh no, right? Yeah. Yeah. You would think that, if you change your name to Simon, I forgot what it is, some other name. But I don't think that Simon's a way you can track someone down. Also going to be available this week in graphic novels, the cool compact for Gotham by Gaslight, which is a really good, I think, Elseworlds series. The Plague House, which was, who did this one? Mike Conrad. This one's really cool. Nightwing, part of the All In stuff. Volume 2. Resurrection Man, Quantum Karma. Is Gaslight the Jack the Ripper story? Oh, hold on. Is it? Yep, Jack the Ripper. Sure is. I can't say Jack the Ripper without saying King Mercury. Sorry, forgive me. Old rap. Incredible Hulk Monster Road. Vision and the Scarlet Witch. We got some Void Rivals back in, but I don't think this is new stuff. Volume 3 and 4, so maybe 4 is new. These were things that I didn't remember ordering, but hey, I'm interested in reading them. This one is called Festook. Let me read this little synopsis for you because this is interesting. It says 17-year-old Kata Fustukian has always felt like the odd one out in his family of chefs. Unlike his older siblings, he's useless in the kitchen and too young to have known their late father, a legendary high chef who had made a name for himself in the Pars Empire. But with his mom's illness worsening, Kata hopes that his vision-like dreams are a sign of magic stirring within him, especially after they lead him to Az, the place, easy. A powerful div with some mysterious connection to his family. In an attempt to save their mom's life, he and his siblings strike a deal. Az's help in exchange for a dish that rivals their father's. I guess it's a regular person. So Az is a person. But after his siblings clash over what to cook, Kata will have to make sense of his magic and family history and wager far more than a single meal to meet Az's demands. So it says, weaves together a past and present timelines of highly affecting story of Armenian family and food. So I love it. Look at that I love stuff that deals with other cultures. Also, Blood City Rollers, Move It or Bruise It. This one looks adorable. This one's designed for kiddos. And then the mystery book of the week. Why did I order this? I don't know. Shanice said it's not new or anything, but I ordered 2 copies of the Grant Morrison Invisibles Compendium. Maybe I knew something. Maybe someone told me something that made me think, oh, I need to have that in the store. I don't know. I know too much stuff and hear too much stuff. So I just act on it before I forget. Oh, Kyle is driving back from his stay in Baltimore, where he helped raise money for Dreamers and Make Believers. Thank you for helping us with that. I'm going to invoice all of those things this week. Coming up next, Jay is going to be helping me out on new comic books. And then right after the new comic books, I've got some really killer stuff that I'll be offering, including really early first appearances of Jason Todd and Red Hood goodies, and tons of other really fun stuff on the board collection that I took in before I went to the money show. Weirdly, I did not take any collections in at the money show, which is very bizarre. Usually I have a few people bring me things, but nothing this time around. Maybe they'll come in. I handed out a bunch of cards, so maybe they'll come in, because I usually get really fun stuff from families at the money show, which is the reason why I go, or one of the reasons I go. I have a lot of fun talking to people about collectibles, no matter what they are. So I did have someone try to sell me coins, but they were like silver coins. They were associated with some app video game. And I was like, if I have never heard of this game, I am certain that none of my people have heard of it enough to want to, throw money at silver weight to have them. So does anyone here collect coins? It's a fun thing, numismatics. All right. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of break. Sorry, I went through the books very quickly. And there isn't a ton of DC, but remember, you have coins. Awesome, Corey. I think they're a fun collectible. They don't take up a lot of room. They take up less room than comic books and about the same amount of space as stamps, but they're heavier. So you have to be able to pick up a lot of stuff. Coin shows are the one place that are so different. If you go to a coin show, it's literally like tables with like displays on them with lights showing what's in the display, and people sitting on the outside of the booth. So it's like for a comic convention, you just like stand and look at stuff, right? They sit down, have like discussions, show each other all their stuff, make deals. So really they only deal with like one or two people at a time. I'm just like, man, that would be hard to like walk around in circles until someone's chair opens up like you're playing musical chairs. And then the other thing that I think is interesting is that most of the time when you go to a coin show and you're a dealer, you're not bringing the tables are set up for you. You even rent the display, so you don't have to bring a display. You rent the light. The chairs are there for you. So all you really bring is your coins. So when I see big coin dealers leave, they've got like 3 like luggages, and that's it. They like stand up, put their luggage, draw their luggage out, and they leave. It's not like at a Comic-Con where it takes us like 5 hours to break down, load into our vehicles, take it back, put it back in our stores. Like, I was low-key really jealous of them. You collect too many things. There's no such thing as too many things, Corey. Come on. All right, everybody. I will see you guys in about 11 minutes with cool comic books to buy. And I'll see you guys later.